Alright, howdy folks, I'm here at the boat looking at the woodwork today, and I'll show you what I've done so far and some of the things, problems that I'm having with what I've done so far. So you can see here the woodwork, most of the issues that I've had with this so far are related to the age of the boat. So the boat's like close to 35 years old. It's been sanded and had a lot of things done to it over time that have caused some of these problems. So one of the big ones that I'm having right now is all of these little plugs are starting to pop out because it's been sanded so many times. There's not a lot of contact around the edge of the plug where it was glued to into the board, and so those are starting to pop out. So I've been replacing them. I think this one looks like it's been replaced, and they're hard to replace because there's not a lot of wood left below the screw. On some of them, I've had to actually drill them out a little deeper into the wood so I can get a plug in there, and which is not necessarily good because you don't have enough wood under the screw. But every now and then it's not too bad. The other thing you can see maybe on the video is how pitted, it's not pitted, but how grooved this is. And that's caused by if you scrub this with like a stiff bristle brush or something like that, what happens is it carves out the softer wood in the annual rings and it leaves the harder wood behind, and it causes these little grooves. So I can't really sand it because I'm at the end of where the life of these plugs, and that makes it makes it finishing it a little more difficult. So this is what I've done so far. What I've used that seems to have been the best is this teak sealer from Starbright, and I have two colors, and I like to use the clear because it looks the best. But then this has been treated with clear already. You can see, and the color isn't great. There's a little spot here you can see where it has some of the old stain that was on there that still hasn't come off, and some of this I've scraped off. Some of it, this one I just let that sit there. But the color is not the best color, but it actually does look pretty good when you first put this stuff on. So this stuff's easy to go on. It's just an oil basically, and then it goes on. This wood actually is a little bit gray because I haven't washed it since I put the stain on last time. But it's a sealer. It's not really supposed to color it or anything. But when it's all cleaned up, it does look fairly nice. But that's what this looks like more or less when this goes on, and that will dry. And it doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't last very long. So already you can see like the color of this is on the gray side. Here's another problem with sanding too much is screws. This was a screw from the outside here that was starting to come through on this side. So these are like nearing the end of their lifespan, and which would require replacing all this, which would be a huge pain in the butt task that I don't want to do. So I'm kind of debating on what I should do next to maybe extend the life of this. So here's an example of what I was just talking about. I was going over this with a cabinet scraper. So a cabinet scraper I think is a little better than sandpaper because it gets it a little smoother, and but there's not a lot really that you can scrape off. These plugs are at the end. This is the one that just popped out. You can see how thin it is. So what I have to do to fix this is I have to scrape the glue that's out of there and then take another plug and try to glue it in. But sometimes it's not deep enough to get in there, but I'll just plug that in there for now. But the cabinet scraper, you can see when I put this up against the edge how uneven the surface is. You can see the light coming through there. Also having the same thing here on the handrails, except these plugs are a lot bigger. These plugs are huge, and I don't have a plug cutter that's that size. I have ones that are smaller and larger, but not this exact size. So I have to figure out what size plugs these are, and either get a plug cutter for that or just buy the plugs for it, which will probably be easier. But that's the only big one I think that has come out so far. Up here in the companionway, this wood here, it fares much better because it's protected from the sun. But this one I refinished using this stuff here, Schooner Gold from Interlux, and it went on really well. And again, like I didn't want to sand this a lot, so the surface itself isn't like super flat and even, but the color looks good and it went on really well. It is starting to fade in spots. I already started scraping some off down here so I could refinish some of that later on. I'll probably do the same thing. I'll use the Schooner Gold for the companionway because that seems to have lasted a long time and held up really well. You just gotta keep at it and keep fixing it every year or so, if not more than that, which is a lot of work. So this is another version of this Starbright Teak Sealer. This one is natural light, and I tried this once and I don't like the color at all. It has like a yellowish tinge to it instead of like the natural teak color that you get with some other stuff. But the problem now is this stuff is so freaking expensive right now. One of these quarts is probably, I think, around $60 or so. I saw recently, and I think that just has gone up because it hasn't always been that expensive. But when I look to buy, I'm almost out of the clear that I use. So I'm almost out of this one. So I went to go see if I could buy another one, and it was like $60 something at West Marine. So I wanted today I was going to actually try to put a couple of the plugs in. But I realized once I got here that I don't have my plugs at the boat. I think I must have taken them home to try to drill some larger ones for that handrail that's missing a plug. So I can't do any plugs, but basically the procedure, like I said, is I got to scrape the glue out of there. Sometimes I'll have to drill the hole a little bit deeper than what it is, just enough to get another plug in there. What I'm using to glue them in is I'm using this Tight Bond 3. Which is for exterior woodwork stuff. So it seems to have been working well for that. Once they dry after a day or so, then I cut them off flush with a flush cutter, and then I try not to sand at all on any of this woodwork, just because every time, if I'm afraid I'm going to pull more plugs out. Now I've never sanded any of the woodwork on the boat except for the companionway, like the crib boards and stuff where the thickness isn't that important. But in the past, whoever had this boat before us probably sanded quite a bit to refinish the wood. But it is a 35-year-old boat, so I guess that's to be expected. I don't know. I think the next thing I was thinking of trying maybe is if I coat it in epoxy. So that would definitely seal it up, I think, if I did it that way. I may even be able, maybe epoxy with some, I don't know if they even have a clear filler or a thickener that would make it so I could smooth out some of the ridges and stuff. But I'm still thinking about what I should do with all that, because it's on the edge of having to be replaced, and that's just a lot of teak to replace. Even if you went with something that was not wood and you got some fake wood or something like that, then that would still be a lot of work. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I think I may just keep trying to put the teak sealer on it and scrub it. One of the things that I would recommend if you're doing this, having these teak troubles, is when you scrub it, don't use a stiff bristle brush, because that's bad for wood in general. And then the other thing is try to avoid sanding, and use a green scrub, like a green scrub pad. That's normally what I use to clean this up. That's a little easier, a little more forgiving than a stiff bristle brush, and it works well. I've also used a cleaner on the teak on occasion, because one of the things problems with teak is it lets all these bacteria and things grow inside of it. That's what all the black marks and streaks can be in teak, and why it actually turns gray. So I like using that Starbright Teak Sealer. One of the benefits of it is it's just an oil. It's not like a varnish that sits on top of the wood. It actually just soaks into the wood. So when you're putting it on, if you get a little bit on the outside the wood, like on the gel coat, it's not that bad. You just wipe it off, and then it ends up working fine. So it's easy to clean up, and just easy to kind of generally apply. It doesn't look as good. You're not going to get like the varnish look with it. So if you're expecting a varnish look, you really have to use some sort of varnish. And there are lots of different types. Like I said, I use the Interlux Schooner Gold, which I think worked out well. There are other ones that I've seen people suggest, but you just have to decide whether you want the look and the maintenance of varnish, or the ease and the not so great look of sealer and or other types of oils. One of the disadvantages of oils too is that it soaks into the wood, and all those bacteria and things that turn teak gray, they actually feed off those oils. So it kind of promotes the growth of that stuff on there. So you're gonna have to keep cleaning it. One recommendation that I saw, and I think it was in one of the big sailing books, perhaps I think the Lynn Party book, about what they do to take care of their teak. And they said they just use a green scrub pad and seawater and salt water to scrub it, and it doesn't look shiny varnish, but it stays protected. The salt water helps kill the growth and stuff that happens on the teak, and it doesn't scrape out or scrape away the wood because you're using a green scrub pad. So ideally, I think that'd probably be the best way to do it, but it just doesn't look as good. And I think like for me, though, like in these areas like the companionway here, I don't mind putting varnish on there because it's protected from the sun, and it usually lasts a lot longer than the varnish on other places. I've tried varnishing up here on the tops of the coamings here, and these spots here, same thing. I mean, there are parts that get a lot of sun and parts that don't. So the parts that get a lot of sun fade really fast, and they just need constant upkeep. So I'm thinking of switching from varnish on those to just sealing them and scrubbing them. But they don't look as nice, is the only disadvantage. So, but that's where I am with woodwork on the boat. Right now it is mid-October. So the next couple of things that need to happen, or next thing that needs to happen on the boat, is we're getting close to winterization. So right now the weather is not too bad. I think right now is in the 40s this morning. So overnights have been like in the 40s, 50s, and the daytimes in the 60s, 70s. So I think the next thing that I'll need to worry about is winterization, which I'll probably wait another couple more weeks to do, probably like closer to November. And then we have the Annapolis Eastport Tug of War coming up here soon. I think that's the next big thing in Annapolis that we'll go to, that I think I'm going to go to. I'm not 100% certain yet this year, but we've gone every year for the last couple years, the last few years, I guess. So that is on the schedule, but I got some other stuff that I may have to happen that weekend. So that's pretty much all I've got. And not much in this video. I just wanted to do a short video because I said I would do it in the last video, and then try to keep some videos on the channel. As far as the channel goes, it's funny, I'm getting close to 500 subscribers, and I had 499 when I checked last week, and then I got another message saying, oh, that a new subscriber or something like that. And so I thought, oh great, maybe I've hit 500, and then I went and looked, and I'm at 498. So I may have lost a couple and then gained one. So those of you who have subscribed, thanks for subscribing, and those of you who have unsubscribed, that's okay, I guess. But it is I think 500 is kind of like it's a milestone to reach. One of the things that happens at 500 if you have a YouTube channel is 500 is the minimum number of subscribers that you need to monetize your channel. And I have no plans of monetizing this channel, but because you also have to have, in addition to 500 subscribers, you have to have this insane number of watch hours, which I'm not even close to. So this channel doesn't make any money, and I never really planned for it to anyway. But it is fun to hit those milestones like 500 subscribers, And it's also fun seeing everybody or people's comments when they make comments. They're few and far between, but when they do, and then the likes and views and stuff is nice to see. So thanks to those of you who have hit the thumbs up buttons on the videos, those of you who have subscribed, and those of you who are watching, thanks for staying, especially to the end of these long, boring videos. So that's all I've got, and I will see you hopefully, probably at the tug of war in a few weeks. So this is a new little toy that I got actually for Christmas last year from my daughter, and so I play the guitar, and this is what she got specifically for the boat. So this is my boat guitar, and I've had it now since Christmas, and I've had it on the boat, and it's kind of like, it's not like a super fancy guitar. It's from a company called Enya, which I think is like a Chinese little thing, and it's got a nice cool look to it, and it kind of looks like it's supposed to be like a carbon fiber thing, but it's probably some type of plastic or something. But it's got a little sound hole there, sound hole on the front, and it's a small, I think probably half size maybe, or maybe even a 3/4. And amazingly, it like keeps tune and everything, being stored on the boat with the temperature fluctuations and everything, because there's no wood in it, so it's all, I guess it's all plastic in the strings. But it's a cool little thing to have on the boat, play around with, and practice playing the guitar.